You are listening to the Room 1202 podcast. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm really glad you're here. And if you're listening to this and you know deep down that you're called for more, not just to do more, but to carry something meaningful, to have influence, and to live with intention, then you're in the right place. This is Room 1202, and to be honest, this space is really just about preparation. Not the kind that looks impressive on the outside, but the kind that happens internally. Because I really believe that before God entrusts us with influence, He prepares our character. He starts working on how we think, how we respond, and what's shaping us beneath the surface. And that part is not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like slowing down. Sometimes it feels like you're in a season where nothing is really moving, but a lot is actually happening internally. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. So in this space, we're learning how to pay attention to that. How the word is shaping us, how our thoughts are being formed, and how we can become more aware, not just of ourselves, but of how the Lord is working in us. Because I really believe, guys, that real transformation starts there. Before anything becomes visible, before influence is expressed, something has to be formed within us. So, wherever you are right now, I want you to just settle in. And now, let's step into this conversation together. So, today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of us experience, especially when we know we're called for more. It's that kind of seasons where things feel slower than expected. You're still showing up, you're still trying to be responsible, but the results you were hoping for are not really there yet. And if you're honest, there's a part of you that starts to wonder if you're doing something wrong. And I'm telling you guys, I've had seasons like that too. There were times when I thought I needed to adjust something externally, maybe refine my approach, maybe do more, or even question if I was on the right path. But when things slowed down, I started to realize that what the Lord was doing was not really about my output. It was about what was happening internally. And I think this is where we often miss it because we are used to measuring progress based on what we can see. So when things are quiet, it's easy to assume that nothing is happening. But in reality, some of the most important work happens in those kinds of seasons. You know, the kind of work that is not loud, not visible, but very intentional. Okay, let me explain it this way. Have you ever noticed how you respond when something doesn't go the way you expected? Maybe you were hoping for a certain opportunity, or you put effort into something and it didn't turn out the way you thought it would. In those moments, your first reaction reveals a lot. Do you become anxious? Do you start overthinking? Do you question your worth or your direction? I've had moments like that where my initial response surprised me actually, and I had to pause and ask myself, where is this coming from? Or even in simple situations like when you're working on something important and suddenly it's not getting the traction you hoped for, instead of staying grounded, your mind starts jumping to conclusions. You start comparing, you start thinking maybe you're behind and it's very subtle, but it shapes how you feel and how you move next. And let me just tell you guys, those moments matter because they reveal what has been forming in your inner life. And the more aware you become of those patterns, the more you start to see that those quiet seasons are not really empty. They're actually very revealing. And this is where something shifts because awareness is not just about noticing what's happening, it begins to lead you somewhere and it leads you back to the Lord. When you start noticing your thoughts, your reactions, and your tendencies, you begin to realize how much you actually need Him. Not just for direction, but for alignment, or not just even for answers, but for transformation. And I found out that these quieter seasons, there's a deeper invitation. An invitation to draw closer, to sit with the word more intentionally, not to rush out of the process, but to actually stay in it long enough to understand what the Lord is doing in that moment. It says in James 4:8, draw near to God and He will draw near to you. And I think that's what these seasons create. They create space for that kind of closeness. Because when everything is loud and moving fast, it's easy to rely on your own understanding, but when things slow down, you become more aware of your need for him. And as you stay in that place, you start to see his ways more clearly. You begin to notice how he is shaping your thinking, how he is correcting certain patterns, and how he is building patience, clarity, and even restraint. Things that are not always visible, but, of course, necessary. And I think of it like this. It's actually similar to planting a seed. When you place a seed in the ground, nothing happens on the surface right away, right? And if anything, it looks like nothing is really going on. But beneath the surface, something very real is taking place. And we all know that the seed is being established, that the roots are actually forming. And that process is very essential, my friend, even if no one can see it yet. And I think that's what a lot of these seasons are like. You may not see results yet. You may not have visible confirmation, but something is being established in you. And that matters more than we realize. Even if you look at Moses, his leadership didn't begin when he stood before people. It began in the wilderness, years of what looked like an ordinary life. And Acts 7:30 shows us that it was in that place that the Lord appeared to him, which means that long before the assignment became visible, the preparation was already happening. So, if you're in a season right now where things feel slower or quieter than you expected, I just want to gently remind you of this, my friend. Nothing is being wasted. Hear me out. Nothing is being wasted. That even if you cannot see it yet, something is being formed. Something is being rooted in you. And the kind of influence that carries weight is always built on that kind of foundation. And as you go through your week, I just want to invite you to pay attention, not just to what's happening around you, but to what's happening within you. Notice your thoughts, notice your responses, and instead of rushing past those moments, bring them to the Lord. Let them lead you closer to Him. Because the more aware you become, the more you realize that this process is not about being stuck. It is about being shaped. Before we close this conversation, I just want to leave you with this. Nothing that the Lord is doing in your life right now is without purpose. Even the parts that feel slow or unclear are shaping something deeper than what you can currently see. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who might need this as well. And if you'd like to continue these conversations with me, you can follow the podcast. We are on Spotify and Substack, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel where I share more reflections like this. I'd love to also hear from you guys, so feel free to leave a comment or message me and let me know what stayed with you. I'm really grateful you're here, and thank you so much for tuning until the end. Again, I'll see you in the next episode. This is Room 1202 Podcast.